Hi, this is Nancy. Today, I wish to speak with you about one of the adjustments in public education and learning that is giving more parents choices for their youngsters. It is a change that more and more states need to consider. The COVID-19 pandemic actually saw an increasing number of households seeking choices to their designated public schools. Lots of educational alternatives, from private school, charter schools, and homeschool options, have seen substantial boosts being used over the past couple of years. One extremely preferred, however commonly neglected, kind of option is public school open enrollment. Most states permit cross-district open enrollment, a policy that permits pupils to enlist in public schools outside of their designated institution districts, but only 9 have policies that offer this to all households. The remainder provide school districts with wide discernment, allowing them to deny transfer requests for arbitrary factors even if they have readily available seats. Policymakers seeking to broaden access to educational alternatives should focus on strong and reliable open registration policies. Open registration can transform demographics within the USA as well. In many parts of the country, public school registration is declining significantly, while high-performing rural institution districts evaded this pattern for a while. These areas are starting to experience a lack of pupils like their urban counterparts. Some areas dealing with declining enrollment will likely be a lot more receptive to accepting pupils from other areas than they have actually offered in the past, and state policymakers must work to grow that passion. Wisconsin gives us one model for successfully implementing a reliable open registration program. Although it has areas for improvement, its relative visibility, high transfer funding quantity, and arrangements for trainees with unique needs have made it into Wisconsin's largest public school option program. We examine just how open registration operates in Wisconsin, and makes use of extensive information to examine just how open enrollment can give instructional alternatives for pupils and aid improvement through market forces. Their experience offers other state policymakers secrets to replicating Wisconsin's effective program. Cross-district open registration hasn't been studied to the same level as other public school selection policies, such as charter schools. Nevertheless, a couple of vital pieces of research are worth keeping in mind. A 2011 evaluation study checked out the connections of open registration in Minnesota and Colorado. It studied who was most likely to make a decision to change schools. A study on Michigan's plan also sheds light on which students are most likely to take advantage of open enrollment options. It found that minority students and those from low-income backgrounds are more likely to take part, regardless of cross-district open enrollment entailing extra difficult pupils in general. Much proof points to positive scholastic outcomes. A 2021 analysis by the Golden State's Legislative Analyst Office located that pupils who access the program were provided with chances they could not have in their home district, such as university preparatory courses or extra international languages. Likewise, a 2018 research of Colorado's open registration students located small achievement gains that were just preserved if the pupil stayed enrolled in the new school district. It's additionally important to think about the effects on districts that are losing student enrollment to cross-district open registration. Research study on the results of open registration on donor areas is limited, but the previously mentioned the Golden State Research Study located that these districts often diversified their course offerings, likely due to enhanced competitors. Research studies of various other institution choice programs can also give important insight, with the substantial bulk revealing a positive relationship with public school performance. According to a 2016 evaluation, only one of 33 research studies that have researched this concern has no result or an unfavorable effect. In a similar way, a 2022 evaluation of charter public schools taken into consideration 11 research projects in this field, identifying none with continually adverse and 3 with continually positive impacts. Naturally, access to better academics may not be the only reason pupils pick to take advantage of open registration programs. Other variables, such as institution safety, friendliness, or chances for clubs or sports may additionally be crucial. Opening up enrollment is also crucial provided declining registration in numerous states. According to the National Fixate Education and Learning Statistics information, public school registrations around the nation are expected to decrease by more than 2.5 million by 2030. The reality is that words that were as soon as tabooed to policymakers, such as area combination, will certainly need to get on the table. Every academic academic year, public school districts are needed to establish and advertise the variety of seats they are making available for open registration trainees, in addition to considering points such as student-teacher proportions and constructing abilities. Public school districts can evaluate transfer applicants based upon their technique, history and truancy, and whether the district can satisfy the requirements of pupils. Students around the state of Wisconsin may gain access to these available seats, but can only send applications to up to 3 school areas. If the variety of applicants goes beyond ability, districts are needed to use an arbitrary, lottery-like process to select enrollees. Wisconsin also uses an alternate application procedure for qualified trainees that runs from February to April of the school year coming before enrollment. Qualified pupils include sufferers of terrible criminal activities, those that are being harassed, and students that have just recently moved from another state. In the 2019-2020 academic year, greater than 11,000 pupils made the most of this alternate procedure and moved to brand new districts. An essential part of a reliable open registration policy is having the right financial incentives in position. In Wisconsin, the home area counts the open enrollment student for establishing both state aid and permitted neighborhood real estate tax. Then the state deducts a specified amount of state aid from the home area and credits the same total up to the receiving district. In 2013, this aid quantity was adapted to include an increase annually if specific various other aid to public schools is boosted also. The quantity transferred has actually enhanced over time in both raw and inflation-adjusted dollars. Significantly, policymakers added additional funding for trainees with impairments in the 2016 academic year. Prior to this, lots of open enrollment trainees were denied access to the program, ostensibly because of the cost of serving them. This led to a lawsuit from the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Freedom, suggesting that these rejections were prejudiced, and an ultimate adjustment in state law enhancing financing for pupils with disabilities. The receiving public school can receive additional financing for a youngster with an embellished educational plan IEP that is several $1,000s per person over the typical transfer amount. Public school areas can also apply to the Department of Public Guideline for reimbursement after a pupil's initial academic year if the actual costs of offering them surpass this amount up to $30,000. This extra expense is after that received from the home district state aid. In Wisconsin, the typical public school district gets $13,749 in state and neighborhood help, and no district receives less than $10,000 per student, given that the transfer amount is less than the per pupil allotment for institution districts. The home area pockets the difference. On average, this causes a $5,624 or $13,749 less $8,125 windfall per trainee for the home district, and also most affordable financing areas retain more than $1,800 per transferring student. Districts are not enabled to bill any type of tuition over this amount. The state-set transfer needs to be taken as the full expense of attendance, and parents cannot be billed. As a whole, it's best for education and learning bucks to follow the child. Below, the method produces a win-win to some extent for both the home and receiving area that might help enhance involvement in the program. As a result, the home area gets a part of the funds for the trainees, although they are no longer attending a public school in the area. At the same time, the receiving institution area receives additional funds without adding considerable prices by absorbing an additional pupil. Importantly, low-income households are eligible for transportation compensation from the state, which aids all family members make the most of open enrollment opportunities. Free and reduced price lunch program eligibility is used to determine whether a household can apply for this financing. Parents make use of the mileage from their home to the receiving public school to determine their compensation amount, which was evaluated at 36.5 cents per mile for the 2021 to 2022 school year. One issue with this funding system is that it is from a sum of certain appropriation, meaning that the quantity of travel repayment a family obtains can vary based on the variety of pupils who are eligible for it, a prospective weakness in the law. Wisconsin's open enrollment program isn't ideal, yet there's many ideas for policymakers in various other states to pick up from it. First, open enrollment can offer pupils access to higher performing public school districts. The results of this study show that open enrollment can give students access to seats in higher performing school districts, which is especially critical critical at a time when families are dealing with the academic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic or perceived deficiencies in their existing school district. Second, a statewide funding procedure makes certain the districts have the right incentives in place to remain in their existing areas. The results show a correlation between the amount transferred in the open enrollment program and school district participation. As such, policymakers in other states should strive to put the right financial incentives in place by ensuring that dollars follow the student across school district boundaries. This can be accomplished by setting a statewide per-pupil amount that all districts generate when they enroll transfer students. At the very least, the design of Wisconsin's approach maximizes transparency and is done in a way that doesn't produce fiscal notes for the state. Third, extra funding promotes opportunities for students with disabilities. Another key provision is the differentiated funding amount for students with disabilities, who are often the most ill-served by their local schools. While there is only anecdotal evidence on this point in the study, it is likely that open enrollment participation increased after extra funding for students with disabilities began in 2016. Providing additional funding recognizes that they are costlier to serve and can help assuage district fears about meeting their needs. Fourth, robust transparency allows parents and taxpayers to follow the money. This research is only possible because of the extent to which information on Wisconsin's open enrollment program is made publicly available. Open enrollment funding amounts are explicit in state law, and transfer data for every school district in the state is readily available online, including counts of transfers in, transfers out, transfer students rejected, and the reasons for rejections. For states considering implementation or improvements, a requirement could also be included for student-level data collection and analysis to allow for a more granular look at the relationship with student performance over time. In the last few years, the emphasis of alternative school selection supporters has actually changed towards private school options and charter institutions, which provide ingenious and distinctive options to typical public schools. However, these alternatives are most likely to stay minimal in terms of the degree. Because of this, it is essential that open enrollment programs supply households with a practical alternative. The research highlights the success of Wisconsin's approach, supplying a model for various other states to follow, and making sure that open registration continues to be a valuable tool for households in an age of increasing parental choice. As states establish choices for family members, it is important to consider cross-district open enrollment as a practical kind of public school option. While other choices like finding out sheathings and education and interest-bearing accounts have amassed significant interest, Wisconsin's design serves as a best practice for states looking to improve their student transfer plans. This research study provides proof that a lot of the steps integrated into Wisconsin's system have worked and have helped to make it the biggest single school option program in the state. Expanding program registration has a direct influence on rates. A significant instance is Wisconsin, where the intro of a flexible application procedure outside of the conventional enrollment period led to a significant surge in open enrollment, with an almost 20% increase in just 1 year. In addition, pupils commonly choose to move to school areas that use superior instructional chances. Consequently, areas that constantly demonstrate strong efficiency on state analyses generally experience an influx of brand new pupils through open enrollment, whereas those that battle academically often tend to see a decline in registration. Initially, contributor districts showed improvement. Districts that experienced a decline in student enrollment because of open-up performance on state tests, yet these gains faded as time passed. Fourth, rises in the transfer funding amount are associated with higher district engagement, as the quantity of financing transferred to the receiving district has actually enhanced over time. Areas have taken in even more pupils with the program. Wisconsin's open enrollment program uses beneficial lessons for policymakers nationwide. Key functions, such as a uniform statewide funding formula, targeted support for students with unique requirements, and strict transparency requirements, have actually cultivated prevalent fostering among school areas, and increased instructional selections for families with over 70,000 pupils currently taking advantage of the program. I hope this gives you an idea of how a state can use the open enrollment program to help parents look for better opportunities for their children. This is a tool not many states are using, and Wisconsin's experience with their program should give states a good idea as to how to develop their own program. To study more about the events that are occurring today, watch some of our other videos. Nehemiah Reset's mission is to assist Christians in developing a biblical worldview as it pertains to relevant cultural and biblical issues. We seek to inform Christ's followers, equip them, and mobilize them into action to vote for their biblical values, and to actively engage the culture. We are also committed to help Christians and non-believers develop a better biblical view. Nehemiah Reset produces videos and ebooks to assist members of the church in developing a biblical worldview when it comes to cultural issues. We produce videos on indoctrination, the woke agenda, sex education, equity and inclusion, climate change, immigration, religious freedom, and much, much more. To learn more about Nehemiah Reset or to watch some of our videos about the culture and to build your biblical worldview, go to our website at nehemiahreset.org or our rumble.com channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day.